Liam, do you take roll?
President Smalley.
Here.
Vice President Lane.
Here.
Director Holtz.
Here.
And Director Larday will be joining us.
I don't know.
Who knows?
I haven't heard from him.
There was a lot of traffic coming that way, so maybe he.
And
Director
Director Russ will be joining us remotely. He excused himself from the room, or we chased him out of the room, so that he could be home. He's not feeling well.
Got it.
So, okay. But he will join us, once he gets back to his home and attend remotely. So
because we'll need 4 votes to have a remote participant.
Not if he's sick.
Yeah, because of the agenda issue, right?
I think we can,
Where's our general counsel? She'll tell us.
think we could start the discussion in the closed session, but the open session.
Well, I'm just saying if he's going to participate in closed session, we need to make sure that we're doing it properly. I don't know if a medical emergency qualifies for being able to have him participate without noticing it to the public through a formal agenda change. And if it's a formal agenda change, that requires 4 votes.
Okay, not
But
a,
Barbara should be able to tell us.
not a majority of the individuals.
It's got to be a supermajority.
Oh, okay.
Or in the case of a, I think it's that, or in the case of a,
If there was an emergency action.
well, I'm trying to think if there's an exception, if there's a quorum only, if it's a unanimous vote.
Oh.
It should be in the board policy manual
Yeah,
or Robert's Rules of Order, but Barbara should be able to tell. Is Barbara joining us?
She'll be here for the open, but she was not planning to be for the closed.
no.
I did not foresee this.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get it.
Okay, pull up the board policy manual if your position, Bob, is we have to check that first before we can, okay.
Well, I mean, we can go into closed session, the 3 of us, it's just we need to, if we want to have Bob join us remotely, we need to make sure we're formally handling that.
Right, I'd like to give him that opportunity.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
then
absolutely.
then we have to check. Jason, could you ping Barbara?
Yeah.
Just give her a quick call to ask that question. While we pull up the board policy manual and see if
Hey, Barb, this is Jason. All right, I have a quick question for you.
Board policy manual.
We had a board member who had to leave due to unforeseen circumstances. So now we only have 3 members of our present. Is he allowed to participate in a closed session remotely? Since we weren't able to,
Jason, I'm hearing he left with a medical issue.
Medical
he
emergency,
just- yeah, he did it with that.
medical emergency.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, now we have four.
Yeah, it would be at his home. Okay. All right, appreciate it. Thank
Director
you.
Russ had to leave because he was very sick.
All right, all
And
right.
trying to figure out the rules.
Oh, I'm
of
sorry to hear that.
participating remotely.
Well, it's kind of a moot point. Yeah, he is able to participate.
But we have to do something or not?
No,
No, okay, great.
we'll just, we've already announced that he wasn't gonna be here.
Right.
So,
That's why I
you know,
did it at the beginning so that anybody who was attending from the public could hear that also. Okay, so we can now transition into the closed session. Yes, okay, all right. You need to roll.
she did.
Okay, we did,
Put down more.
and noted that Director
5:36.
Largate joined at 5:35.
There are no changes to the closed session.
Okay. All right. Oh, okay, we didn't go through the usual first. Oral communication, does any member of the public wish to speak on an item that is in the closed session? We have nobody in the room, one attending remotely from the public. I see no hands up. So with that, we can adjourn to the closed session. I have 6:30, so I'd like to reconvene this meeting of the Board of Directors for the San Lorenzo Valley Water District for December 18th, 2025. Leah, would you take roll again, please?
President Smollett,
Here?
Vice President Lane,
Here.
Director Fultz,
Here.
Director Largate,
Yes.
and Director Russ is joining us remotely.
Pending.
Director Russ, you are currently muted.
There, sorry about that. Yes, I'm here.
Thank you.
Okay, so as required by AB 2449 for remote attendance, Director Russ, you're attending remotely. You need to make that request and tell us why in 20 words or less.
I was not feeling well. and so left the meeting to join remotely, thereby avoiding inadvertently infecting any other participants.
Okay, and the board needs to take action to approve that remote attendance. I move that we allow Director Russ to attend remotely.
Do we have to second that?
Yes,
Second,
President Smalley,
yes.
Vice President Lane,
yes.
Director Foltz.
Yes.
And Director Largay.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Report of actions taken in closed session. The board took no action on either of the two items in closed session. Jason, any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes.
Okay. Oral communications, does any member of the public wish to speak on an item that's not on the agenda this evening?
President Smalley.
Yes.
Barbara has her hand raised.
Oh, okay. All right. Go ahead, Barbara.
Thank you. Could we just also confirm that there's nobody over the age of 18 in the room with you, Director
Russ,
Rose?
Yes, I can confirm that.
Thank you.
thank you. So does any member of the public wish to speak on an item within the purview of the district? It's not on the agenda this evening. Seeing nobody's hands go up, we will proceed with the meeting then. First one is the presentation on the Brown Act update. And I understand you're covering that for us, Leah. Okay.
I put together a basic presentation, just going over some of the key points from the Brown Act, which will be in effect on January 1st. Most of the slides are self-explanatory. So I will just show you. This one is just a basic background of the Brown Act, which I'm sure everyone's familiar with.
So we're in a glass house.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You're in a full glass house, fully transparent. This is just letting us know who the Brown Act does apply to. So basic legislative bodies or committees. And this is going to be an overview of basically what's changing coming the new year. And to mention too, I've also had this presentation pre-approved by legal before presenting it. So requirement, which I gave to you today, was the Brown Act. That's a full copy of it, no shortening of anything. That's going to go out to all of our board members, and I also will be giving one to our committees. The social media provision that was in effect before was temporary. It's now become permanent. So anything when you talk online, you just want to make sure that you're treating it as the Brown Act. So you're not sharing and talking about anything that we've talked about in board meetings. They want to make sure that you discuss among yourselves what you can talk, but you can't express any emojis or anything like that that can be taken as you are communicating about any sort of matter involved with the district.
So I want to go back to that one on social media. So that I can understand. So what we're talking about on any of the items, I shouldn't post that. I shouldn't.
You don't want to share any of your personal opinion on social media where you will talk to, say, another director on the board and you discuss about it.
Okay,
Let's dig into that a little bit,
okay.
because I'm not sure I see here that you're prohibited from posting anything on social media.
You can post personally as much as you like.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
And you can even post, I believe, information about the district or your um, upcoming information or what have you. Are you saying that someone cannot post an opinion like, I'm in favor of tiered rates, water rates?
You can post an opinion of yourself. You just cannot discuss it as being.
No one else can respond to that. Right. I wanted to make that
Okay,
point.
okay. So that it's not
Serial meeting.
in a chat room,
Exactly.
back and forth discussion where
Yeah.
another board member
Yes.
could be involved in that.
Basically having your own personal board meeting.
Or the possibilities of that. Okay, okay.
It's important to always make the disclaimer that you are speaking as yourself and not as a representative of the board.
Okay,
And by the way, I think that would apply to any media in general, right? Not just social media, but
Yeah.
TV, printed media, etc. Yeah.
This next slide actually goes over what is permissible by a board member. I don't want to read verbatim, but it basically addresses what we had just talked about. Please let me know if I'm going too fast.
okay.
The teleconferencing overview, these are some changes coming in the new year. A lot of them are mostly geared towards remote. So I'll go over those in a little bit more detail in its slides. So this one right here. So this is basically covering anything with a disability. You basically still have to either participate from home. This can be for audio and visual. You have to disclose help county just did it with Director Russ. This is treated as in person as well, including for quorum purposes. Any questions on that? Okay.
So we could have, if someone has a disability where they are attending remotely, and we only have 2 board members here, that still counts as a quorum.
Yes.
Okay, that's,
So this is something I wanted to point out that I got actually from legal. And this one I'm going to just go over kind of more verbatim. There's no longer a limit of the number of meetings a director can miss remotely as a reasonable accommodation. They can be remote as much as possible. Before it was a certain guideline you had to follow. And this has been adopted by the code section 54953.8. It says, so if someone does have to miss an unforeseen amount of time due to a condition, that is going to be still treated as in person. And if needed, they also don't have to do a video as long as they are audio. It's permissible.
Wow.
okay. And that's good to know also because oftentimes one of us will say, and I'm shutting my camera off because of limited bandwidth, and I'm going to participate only by, and I thought that was okay, but apparently it will be okay come January. Okay.
This is also something that I highlighted. This generally was already in effect. The remote location no longer has to be accessible to the public. So if you disclose where you are, you do not have to open up your personal space to have any public member there.
Is that applicable only to if they're participating remotely because of a disability
That's in general.
in general? Okay.
So if that's the case and I'm out of the area,
Mhm.
I don't need to give you a location. It doesn't need to be in the agenda.
You don't have to give me a location. It does not need to be accessible to a public member to join you at the location.
Because before you were supposed to post a notice outside your door.
I always did. And I had lots of people wanting to join
Yeah,
Sure.
right.
Lined up.
Oregon.
in Oregon. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, what's the logic of that then?
You're talking about the California legislature. There is no logic.
All right, forget it.
But I did have a follow up because I do travel fairly often for business.
Mhm.
And I mean, in fact, I have one coming up in January. It's not a disability.
Not.
It's not district business. I hope that the legislature isn't so arrogant that the only business travel they recognize is district business travel and not my business that I have to make money at.
As long as it's a reasonable accommodation and the board does approve, we might want to address legal with that. We'll get into more detail regarding certain like health reasons.
Well, our our attorney's attending. Since that's topical to this slide right now, let's,
I mean,
well, this is when we should vet that. Yeah, Barbara?
I honestly, I have not looked at this new statute. Tom in my office has worked with Leah to,
Okay,
so I would kick that to him. I spent,
okay,
Yeah.
then if you can have that point researched and let Jason know and he can distribute that to the rest of the board then in an email.
yeah, and just to be really clear, the circumstances are I'm traveling on my business, not district business. I'm not in a disability situation.
Right. And you're not
Right.
sick.
I'm not sick.
Right, yeah.
But I can't be here because I have to take care of making money.
Yeah. And
So,
right. And so it may be that you still have to post.
well, that's fine. I mean, I do it all along and
Yeah.
it's no big deal. Everybody just laughs.
Right. No, I know. So that may be, I don't think they changed that. I think you can always go back to that. So
okay,
That's
the
perfect.
question, I think the question really is, do you have to post, right? Otherwise,
yeah,
Yeah, it's just a blue tape on the door.
right. No, I know. I've done it myself.
The way it read though was that it was for everything. It doesn't have to be accessible to the public though.
Oh, it's accessible.
Well, no, it seems like with these new changes that you want it
The new
What?
changes, you don't have to be.
okay.
no matter. If I don't know if you went back to the
Well,
other.
but these are questions about that. Tom, it sounds like your person should be able to answer.
We will get crystal clear clarification on exactly what
Right.
does it have to be accessible, who's accommodating, all that.
And what's the
Okay.
limit on that? About how many times you can
Accommodation,
attend?
there is no limit.
Well, yeah,
Right.
but if it's not, what is the
Yeah.
the new limit?
I
Yeah.
can show you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jumping ahead.
Sorry.
This one covers our state of emergency. So any local emergency, that's declared by your city or county. The major thing that I want to call out in this one is if an emergency does remain active for more than 45 days, we are required to give the public an update. Other than that, it's the basic approach that we're following. So majority votes,
Okay.
Majority votes finding a meeting in person, you don't have to, it's a sort of a risk for safety reasons, that still stays the same.
And during COVID, when all of our meetings were remote,
Mhm.
we reauthorized it every 30 days. So once a month, we were going through that. Yes.
So this is the part that I think you were just asking about. So this goes into a little bit more of if you had to meet or miss certain times.
Well, My business travel, according to law, is not just cause.
Yeah,
I mean, that's,
yours would be, I think,
that's the arrogance of,
excusable.
the legislature.
The exemption for it. This would clarify on just cause,
Oh,
childcare, illness, physical and emergency. These are more of like spur of the moment kind of things.
Well, not necessarily. You could be traveling on official business,
Yes.
but not personal business.
Disruptions during teleconference is a new item too. If we do have someone that is joining us remotely on teleconference, we have the right to remove or limit that person who engages in that behavior. That's going to be a new effect coming the new year. And this one right here.
I have a question on it. Who defines disruptive behavior? Is that something that the board takes action on?
Yeah, anybody disrupting a meeting, trying to make a meeting stall or being rude, insulting.
Right, no, I understand that, but is that something the board votes on
Yeah.
to say like, okay, we're taking him out?
They didn't actually specify in
Okay.
voting. I could get into that farther.
Okay.
This is Barb. Generally, that's it generally is if in the discretion of the board, right? You determine what is disruptive to your meeting.
I was wondering.
Board president.
Yeah, that's what I would think also.
Yeah.
I've done that. I can think once, when somebody was here in person and I consider being, disruptive, that you're gonna have to leave if you don't.
Mhm.
And they settled down after that warning.
Yeah, usually if they're on telephonic or something, you can mute them, right? That's generally what we do. We just mute them.
Right,
You actually kick them out of Zoom.
right.
Yeah. So, okay.
I would say use the least intrusive method.
Yeah.
However, if someone were to hack this or try to show pornography or
Oh,
some
yeah.
other
Yeah.
thing, that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
which happens.
So the new requirement for this part is before we were required to provide the information as far as general managers, pay and wage. That's going to now be extended to requiring all department heads as well to disclose their salary.
Or salary ranges? Or do you have to give their exact salary?
Can we get clarification on that? Yeah, as to what is the requirement?
Salary ranges are already required.
Right.
Yeah,
Right,
You want the exact.
This is saying no, the people up on these manager levels.
right.
I mean, it may not be any different. It says general managers, fire chiefs, etc.
right. I was gonna say, because the salaries of management is not decided by the board per se. They set the ranges in the MOUs,
Yeah.
but not what
Right.
they're currently making.
But it says new requirement.
Now
Department
required.
Right, extended to department heads and similar admin officers. So I would have to look at the actual language.
Yes, and how is this supposed to be publicly noticed then?
Same way, yeah.
Open session meeting like you would do for a general manager.
Open session at a regular meeting, just like you do the GM, just like we have to do the GM contract.
So if this is correct, we need a memo at an upcoming meeting for, here's the 5 or 6 individuals that we have that meet this requirement. Here's their salaries.
Just an information item.
I understand that, but
But what, I mean, it's go to transparentcalifornia.com.
Yeah,
I mean, what do you, everybody's name is there.
Yeah.
Now the only thing that will happen is the first or last year someone is with you, you may just get a partial because they don't break it down by what your actual pay is.
Right.
But for a full year, I know what all these guys
And,
make.
and I understand if I'm resourceful, I can go do that.
Well, that's not resourceful. It's just
Yeah.
transparentcalifornia.com.
If I'm resourceful, but to do this in the meeting and
But it says always required the final action related to a salary. So it's like if we're hiring Jason and we're settling on his salary, and we're hiring him, that's the final action. So
Right.
so if we
but
were,
it's department heads also.
yeah, but we are not hiring a department head and we don't hire department heads from here. So I don't see a situation
Okay.
in which we would actually report this out.
Yeah. Yeah. If
So I
you,
do agree.
Not until you hire or take action with somebody.
but we recently did. We recently hired.
Again, you
if
have
we-
to look at the actual statute language. I mean,
Right. So could you look at the language for us, Barbara, and tell us what we're going to have to do then, if this is, and the position that we have to do that for then.
yeah.
Thank you.
And whether it's oral or written.
I'll put it like in the consent agenda.
Right, it could be in the consent agenda or
Could be.
something.
Right. Yeah. And that's the appropriate place.
Or maybe it just gets posted
I'm
instead of a range.
looking at an AI thing here that says requires legislative bodies to orally report proposed compensation. So it may not apply to any of our department heads.
Right.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it would apply to anybody we would bring on into those roles in the future,
If,
starting 2026.
yeah, well, if the board was the one making the decision.
Well, then you're the only one that we make that decision about.
Right.
You're the general manager.
I don't know if this new requirement's restricted to board actions.
Right.
Right.
So
That's part of the question.
do further research.
Yeah.
Let's table it for further research because
Where's Tom?
we could speculate at this end for a while.
Right.
Okay.
It's actually the end of my presentation.
All right. So with that, any other questions from the board on this? Seeing no other questions. Thank you, Leah. It was a worthwhile discussion. Okay. All right. Moving on then.
Comment from the public?
Yes, thank you. Any comments from the public on that? Seeing none, we will then move on to the first item of new business, election of officers for 2026. You're presenting this one, Jason? Okay.
So pursuant to the board policy manual, the board of directors is required to elect a president and vice president from among its members for the 2026 calendar year. The elected officers will assume office at the first regular board meeting in January, currently scheduled for January 15th. Following the election of the president, the remaining directors will be asked to submit their preferred committee assignments to the newly elected president and myself via email no later than January 7th. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay. All right. With that then, we will,
I would like to clarify something.
okay.
So in December of 2024, after the election of Mark Smalley to president, he assumed that office immediately.
Yes.
In December of 2023, Jeff Hill assumed the office immediately in December.
Right.
In December of 2022, Mark assumed office immediately.
Right.
In December of 2021, Gail assumed office immediately. And in 2020, Gail assumed office immediately. So if there is so typically in these things, if there's going to be a change in sort of what the board does as a routine measure, there would be board action to do that or a clarification of the board policy manual. It wouldn't be just done unilaterally.
Right.
So I see no reason why at December 2025, we can't add somebody's name to take office immediately and start running the meeting.
Okay. I wasn't aware of anything in the board policy manual.
It's silent, actually. It says
Right.
calendar year, but it doesn't
Right.
say
Right.
when you could start,
Right.
right? Because calendar year could
Yes.
be interpreted many different ways.
Agreed.
The board has interpreted in the past,
Right.
as far as I know, all the way back to 2010, when I started watching this,
Right.
you take office
So,
immediately.
right. And I understand that's the way it's been done in the period that I've been here on the board.
It's
right.
been done that
Right.
way a long
But I
time.
understand, let me finish. I understand that that's, my experience with it also. I talked to Jason about this process. And he said, no, the board that he was at, they didn't. It was, and after thinking about it, no, it doesn't make sense to me because we don't know who the board president is going to be. To put a person in that role 5 minutes later to then take over this meeting and run the rest of the meeting is, from doing it the first time, a bit kludged for me as the individual to be able to step into that. Oh, okay. So after some discussion with Jason, I recommended that change from what we have done as precedent. Understand that, but the board policy manual was silent. So,
Well, let me, yeah, I mean, I get all the interpretation of it, but it is a change in how the board has been doing it. And I think it's pretty clear that everybody sitting on the board should be ready to step in to run a meeting right away, because that may actually happen. I mean, particularly vice president for sure. So, and all of the people on the board, I think, have run at least committee meetings before. I don't see that as an impediment. If what you want to do is clarify something that it should be January to December, we should actually modify the board policy manual to reflect that, so that there's not subject to interpretation. I'm just very concerned about an individual making a change like that to board practices that have been based on board policy without the full board taking
as
action.
you've already pointed out, the board policy manual is silent to that.
Well, it says calendar year. It doesn't say,
It was-
but the board practice has been X. You don't get to decide
I understand that.
unilaterally that it's Y.
Precedent. So,
Okay.
but let me go a little bit further than Bob. Let me finish. You've brought up a point. I'd like to hear from the rest of the board members on what Bob is commenting on and what I've described as rationale as to when this takes effect. Brian?
From a rational perspective, the idea of electing an officer and installing them moments later, to me, is bizarre. I don't know any governance system that functions that way outside of this organization. I think it's odd that we do it. I think it's odd that we have appointed board members and seated them moments later. And similarly, I think it's odd that we would elect a chair and transfer the gavel to them mid-meeting. So
Okay.
I'm entirely comfortable with the notion of reconciling an odd practice with a more rational one.
Okay. Alina?
Yeah, when I read this, I noted that the same thing as Director Fultz, that this isn't the way we typically do it, but I also thought that makes a lot more sense. And then as far as transferring it mid-meeting, and as long as it's not violating the board policy manual, I don't see any
Okay.
issue with doing it this way.
Okay. Director Russ?
I would agree with both Brian and Alina's statements that I think it is bizarre to assume that someone will just step in. Yes, of course, each of us may need to, but there's no reason to put them in that position if we can avoid it.
All right. Well, given that, we will proceed as indicated in the memo. If you feel that we need to change the board policy manual, we can do that at a subsequent.
Well, here's the issue.
All right.
It's incredibly dangerous to change practice on the if you wanted to do that, you should have brought an action item to actually modify the board policy manual from the practice to make sure that it wasn't clear, because under the current board policy manual, at the end of next year, that president can say, oh, I'm going to hand the gavel off right away. Because we've now reduced it to the whim of the president, effectively.
Okay. Understand.
So it's like,
I understand what you're saying.
this is very dangerous things to do.
I disagree, but
Well, I of course you do.
but we've heard from the rest of the board
I get
members
that.
also. So we will proceed with this meeting as laid out here.
At least if we're going to edit the board policy manual, maybe make this clarification.
Okay.
I mean, I'll be voting no on all the elections here because I'm protesting the fact that we're doing it this way.
Okay.
But
Okay. I
geez.
understand what you're saying.
You know, process is important too.
We're going to proceed with the meeting as laid out in the memo. So with that, I want to nominate Director Russ to be president of the board for 2026. So I'd like to hear from any of the rest of the board members on that. So, Brian?
If Bob would like to serve in that capacity, I am comfortable supporting him in that role.
Okay. Alina?
I'm surprised. I think that he's fairly green to the board,
Mhm.
and that we had some better options, maybe if people that have been on the board longer.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I also feel a little uncomfortable with the newly appointed and not voter appointed to be
I see.
governing the board.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
yeah.
Director Pulse?
Well, I don't know that longevity has anything to do with whether someone should be president or not. Gail Mahood became president immediately after election. So, you know, duration isn't necessarily it. Running the board meeting isn't, you know, really rocket science, no offense, but there's a process. As long as you follow the process, I think anybody can do it. I don't have any objection to Bob doing it, but as I said earlier, I'm objecting to the process.
Yep.
So
Okay.
don't take it wrong, Bob. It has nothing to do with you. I think you'll do a fine job, but I think we are going about the process in an incorrect way.
Okay. Director Russ, we'd like to hear from you on.
I'm willing to serve as president, and admittedly, I do feel quite green, Alina, and we'll certainly hope that everyone else can support me in this position, and I appreciate the vote of confidence if this is what the board would like.
Okay. So I made, and I think that we should do these as separate motions, because the outcome of who is president could determine who is then vice president. So I want to make
Point of order. Or do we want to hear from the community first?
We don't have a second yet on the.
right. We don't have a second.
Well, we haven't made a motion yet.
True. We have not made a motion.
And when do we
And
make a motion?
typically you are correct. It's after we discuss and make comments that we're soliciting comments from the general public. So, would any member of the public Does any member of the public wish to comment on the nomination? My suggested nomination. I see no hands going up. So I want to make the motion to nominate Director Bob Russ to be president of the board for 2026.
I will second that motion.
Okay, all right.
President Smalley,
Yes,
Vice President Lane,
Abstain.
Director Foltz,
Abstain.
Director Larday,
Yes.
and Director Russ.
Yes.
okay. Motion passes. So we now will listen to nominations for vice president. So does anybody want to make a nomination for that?
I'd like to nominate Brian Largay as vice president, if he's so willing.
Thank you for that, Bob. I am not particularly willing. I am very limited in my capacity in a variety of dimensions and would feel less than able to deliver on that significant obligation.
Let me
If nominated,
Let me-
I shall not serve.
Let me comment on that. In my mind, the vice president's role is to step in if the president isn't here at a meeting. And to be able to function here at the meeting, to run the meeting. Beyond that, in the past, well, this year and the previous time that I served as president, I didn't tap the vice president for anything. In the past year, I think you've on 2 meetings.
Oh, I think I've mainly just, I don't know if I don't even think it was that.
Well, then Warren,
Yeah, maybe, or not.
that I was remote and you. had to
Oh,
step
yes. And maybe there was 2 that you were remote, you were here, but
Okay,
yes,
okay.
yes.
And I can tell you from experience in my role one time as vice president, it was 0.
in. Okay. So
So
given
that
that,
sounds like a light lift. I guess I think we have a good vice chair, and I would just ask you, Alina, whether you have any interest in serving in that capacity.
I mean, if you aren't wanting to, I am available to continue to serve as vice president, but you're also very welcome to take it over.
Right. So given that, I would be very happy to allow Alina to serve in that
So,
capacity if she would be
um,
willing,
then
and recognizing that.
we're soliciting nominations.
Oh, yes, right.
At this
So,
point in time, we're
and-
soliciting, sounds to me like we're soliciting, if nominated, I shall not run, if elected, I shall not serve.
No, it's the other way around. If nominated, I agree to serve. If elected, I agree to serve.
Yeah, I'm not hearing anybody say
Right.
that.
So we're soliciting nominations.
yes, so I would like to nominate Alina for the role of vice chair,
Okay,
and
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, we've already heard from Brian and Alina on that suggestion. Director Foltz, I'm guessing you're gonna pass on making any.
Sure, I mean, whatever. Yeah.
Okay. Director Russ.
I would love for Alina to be the vice president.
Okay. All right. Well, any members of the public wish to comment on this? Seeing none, then do you want to make the motion? Brian?
sure, I would move that Alina Lang be our vice chair.
Okay. And
But
Vice
point of
President.
order,
Vice president, is that what we
Yeah.
call it?
right, and I will second that. So,
President Smalley,
yes,
Vice President Lane,
Yes.
Director Foltz,
abstain.
Director Larday,
Yes,
and Director Russ.
Yes.
Thank you.
okay.
thank you.
Welcome,
My, remote
welcome
meetings.
to the new seats, or I guess the seat that you've been occupying, Director Lang, Director Russ.
And And as it turns out, Bob couldn't assume the role of president this meeting anyway, because he's remote.
You're correct.
So Alina would have had to do it in lieu of that
You are correct.
if we were doing it by past practices.
You are completely correct. And in the
So Brian, you dodged a bullet.
in the two meetings that I had her fill in for me, she knew about it ahead of time. So, okay, moving on then, to the next item, labor negotiations.
This item is for board consideration, for the adoption of addendum number 2 to the 2017 memorandum of understanding between the San Lorenzo Valley Water District and its recognized employee bargaining unit. In June of 2023, the district and the bargaining unit agreed through addendum number 1 to conduct a comprehensive third-party compensation study. Addendum number 2 implements the results of the Gallagher total compensation completed on March 3rd, 2025, which evaluated components of employee compensation such as salaries, medical benefits, and retirement contribution, and established benchmark positions and market comparison. This addendum updates salary schedules, establishes a baseline and framework for future MOU negotiations, defines parameters for adjusting positions that are more or less than 5% above or below industry standards, clearly outlines cost of living adjustment mechanisms, and includes related compensation provisions, including retroactive pay where warranted. Collectively, this addendum reflects a shared commitment by the board of directors and district staff in achieving fair, transparent, and competitive compensation that supports employee retention and operational excellence. The agreement is effective July 1st, 2024 through June 30th of 2027, contingent upon the board approval and bargaining unit ratification, which my understanding is that they've already ratified it. So staff recommends that the board of directors approve addendum number 2 to the 2017 memorandum of understanding between the district and the recognized employee bargaining.
Okay. So to clarify, it's your understanding that the union has voted?
Both management and the union have agreed to the terms of the addendum.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that clarification. Comments from, questions from board members. Alina?
No, I think we have had a lot of meetings about this and yeah, we went over in closed session, so everything, all my questions have been answered and I'm just happy that we can wrap this up for staff and right before the holiday season and give you guys some good news, so.
Okay. Director Foltz?
Yeah, I had a few questions I wanted to make sure that we sort of covered in general, just to clarify, not only for us, but for the public. So given the fact that the effective date is July 1st and we're over almost a year and a half after that, what's the impact in compensation for the people covered by these addendums?
As far as the retroactive?
Well, yeah, they all going to get retroactive pay back to July 1st.
It depends. I mean, we have people here who were hired after July.
Yeah, no, I get that. But if they were here as of July 1st, would they get sort of a big lump sum?
Yes.
Okay. And is that going to come in this calendar year or next calendar year?
It'll be this calendar year. We have run 2 pay schedules just to in case whatever happens tonight. So we have one ready to go if it passed and one ready to go if it's not.
Okay. All right. So then the employees are aware that for tax purposes, they are going to be getting this big chunk of change
Everyone
in this tax year. Okay. Relative to the cost of living adjustment, let's take an example and just make sure that I understand it. Let's say in a future year, not because I know this year is a half, the cost of living comes in at like 2.7%. How does that impact the salary schedules?
So the impact will be 2.7 for everybody who is within the 5% range. And then if for the positions that are over the average, they would get half of that, so 1.35%.
Okay, and by the 5%, we're talking about people that are within the band, either 5% above or below what the salary study came back with.
Correct.
Correct, okay. And then is there additional compensation that the employees are entitled to in addition to COLA?
Yeah, I mean, there are mechanisms that the district already has in place as far as like educational incentives that they can apply for.
And is there anything based on performance reviews or anything like that, like merit pay and the like?
No, currently the way the salaries are, it's on a 7-tiered graduation, matrix that you get bumped up, as long as you get a 3 or above on your evaluation.
Okay, so you go, if I'm an employee, I get a 3, which sounds like a C or satisfactory, right? This sort of thing. Then I go from step 1 to step 2, or 2 to 3, or 3 to 4.
Right.
And that represents about how much increase?
5%.
5%. What if I got a 4 or a 5? Do I get more?
Not currently, no.
Okay,
5%.
5%. Okay. Okay. So yeah, I guess I'm sorry that it's taken this long, but it sounds like we've reached a good conclusion. And I hope everybody on staff is happy with the results. And I hope the vote reflects that. So thank you for your patience.
Director Largay?
I primarily want to express gratitude that we've reached this point in the negotiations, that we found a package that works for staff and that was ratified by staff. I'm grateful for the work that staff does, as is the whole community. Drinking water is pretty important. We really appreciate all the attention to detail and hard work necessary to make it all happen. So I'm grateful that this is moving forward. This idea of merit pay and bonuses is appealing to me. I think that's a neat way to reward people for good work. Maybe that'll happen next time. That's all I got. Thanks.
Okay. Director Russ?
Sorry about that. I agree. We've spent a lot of time on this, and I'm very appreciative of staff for all their hard work and patience. And I'm really glad we're at the point where before the holidays we can approve this and move forward and look forward to next year. Thanks.
Okay. And for myself, as a member of the board, I appreciate the staff's patience in us being able to get to this point, since this has been a process since now 2023 when we started the process. And I would hope that, if not happy, that staff is satisfied that this is an acceptable agreement to you. So with that, I would like to know if members of the public wish to comment on this at this point. If not, I will make the motion that the Board of Directors approve addendum number 2 to the 2017 Memorandum of Understanding between the San Lorenzo Valley Water District and the recognized employee bargaining units, effective July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2027, and authorize execution on behalf of the district.
Second.
President Smalley,
Yes.
Vice President Lane,
Yes.
Director Foltz,
Yes.
Director Largay,
Yes.
and Director Russ.
Yes.
Motion's passed.
Okay. Records retention schedule.
So last month at the November 20th board meeting, Jen presented this resolution and retention schedule demonstrating that the district is undertaking a comprehensive upgrade of its record management program, establishing the minimum record retention requirements under California law and applicable state guidelines. The proposed resolution and schedule do not mandate the destruction of any records and expressly allow records to be retained beyond the minimum retention period when administrative, legal, fiscal, historical, or operational needs warrant. The policy schedule has been reviewed by district legal counsel to ensure consistency and compliance. While California law allows for routine destruction of records that have met adopted retention requirements, the retention periods identified in the schedule represent minimum standards only and reflect standard business practices for California water districts. All board agenda packets, minutes, resolutions, and ordinances will continue to remain permanently. The retention schedule provides clear record descriptions, assigns departmental responsibility for maintaining original documents, and applies current law and technology to management of district records. These changes are intended to improve consistency, increase operational efficiency, and reduce unnecessary labor and storage costs, while preserving the district's ability to maintain records as needed. Any destruction of records may occur only upon request of the applicable department head and with the written consent of the general manager and general counsel, and strictly in accordance with the adopted retention schedule. Although state law allows local agencies to update retention schedules administratively, the proposed resolution adopts a conservative approach by requiring board review and approval for changes to total retention period or the addition of new record series. Furthermore, adoption of a formal records retention schedule is also a key element of the district's broader transparency framework and supports eligibility for the Special Districts Leadership Foundation District Transparency Certificate of Excellence, working our way towards the District of Distinction Award, both being third-party validations that our district is following recognized best practices in governance. And staff requests that the board adopt Resolution 13 and the associated records retention schedule. With that, I'll take any questions.
Okay,
And direct them to Jen.
okay. Director Foltz.
Yeah, I'm still, I appreciate the fact that there were some modifications made to better reflect intent, but I'm still very concerned about the complexity of this in today's day and age, where effectively electronic storage is free. And if we're doing any paper nowadays, other than very small amounts, we're not really doing best practices. So it's, I just don't see how there's any way, shape, or form a district our size could actually follow this. If we were following this, other than we're just gonna retain everything. I can see a one-time purge, which does not appear to be reflected in here. Though I suppose you could take this once it's passed and do that. But that it's not crystal clear that that's the intent. Any paper that is proposed to be scanned in, if it's not scanned in an OCR format to make it searchable, the value of it is low, unless your file name is going to be complete enough to be able to figure out what's in it based on that, which may or may not be the case. So I appreciate the fact that there's an intent to scan, but an image doesn't really give you very much. In my business, we keep things forever. I've got stuff going back to 2010 when the company started, and the cost of maintaining this has not changed since 2010 because it's all electronic. If there is a concern about retention of records for the purposes of discovery and potentially protecting against lawsuits and that going forward, that is something that I think is a reasonable concern. But I believe that the things that the water district might possibly be sued over, we have to retain anyway. So I don't really see that there's much of an issue there with respect to that. So like I say, I think this could just be made a lot simpler, but I get that it is what it is. I expect it'll be passed, but I'm not I can't support it at this point because of the complexity.
Okay. Director Largay,
I have no opinion on this and defer to staff. Thanks.
okay, Director Lang.
Yeah, I mean, if we have paper documents, those aren't easily searchable either with keywords, so I don't really see the difference between paper or scanning. It might actually make it easier with the scanning because you can put a title in there or come up with if we had another way. But actually, again, in that room over there, and I saw all of the old records that were making an office that were unusable. And one of the people that was applying to be a GM, they actually commented on it. It was like, you feel like you could have a records retention issue. You could get rid of all of these. So it is taking up physical space within our offices and make it unusable. So I'm very happy that we have a really defined policy on what we can get rid of or make electronic. And I just appreciate staff for going through all this time and putting this together. And I think it'll be really useful.
Okay. Director Russ.
I do have to agree with a lot of Director Foltz's comments. It's probably from a practical point of view, it does seem like in a way it's just better to assume you're going to keep everything forever. But I understand that the district needs to move forward with the policy, and so I will support this. But it was amazing you know. I don't know, like 100 different items with different retention dates. It does seem pretty unwieldy. Um, but glad to hear that we're going to have a policy and that hopefully it'll be taken advantage of. So I will support this.
Okay. All right. From my perspective, I support staff on this effort. If staff says that this will benefit the district, then I support it. I appreciate the fact that changes were made to this based on the previous discussion that we had at the board, and it's now come back to us with those revisions. So with that, I want to move forward then. So I'd like to hear from any members of the public on this item or make a motion. Seeing none, I move that the board of directors adopt. Am I on the right one? I don't. Let's see, records retention. Do we have a motion to make on?
You did not, so
On
just
this?
make it up.
You have to adopt resolution 13.
Right, okay. It's recommended that the board of directors adopt resolution 13, adopting the attached records retention schedule. So
Second.
that's the motion.
Raylene,
Yes.
President Smalley,
Yes.
Vice President Lane,
Yes.
Director Foltz,
Abstain.
Director Largay,
Yes.
and Director Russ.
Yes.
Motion's passed and resolution will be adopted.
Okay. Next up is the multiple user variance renewals. Who's covering that one, Cherie?
So yeah, this is the annual review and approval of the multiple user variances for the 25-26 year. The district fee structure for multiple users is established under ordinances 43 and 47. And under these ordinances, if a property has more than one dwelling unit on a single service connection, it is required to build at the 1-inch rate, even if the physical meter is a 5/8 inch. So this goes back to an old practice that we have where some properties were never required to physically upgrade their meter, but they're still billed at the 1-inch rate because of the increased fixture count and potential system demand. So right now we have 445 accounts with 5/8 inch meters, and they're billed at the 1-inch rate. A variance is granted to these when the property technically has an additional unit, but the unit is not permanently occupied. This could be a seasonal cabin or a vacant unit, anything that's not functioning as an independent living space. The customers can apply for a variance if the ADU is occupied fewer than 40 days per year, and then they must sign a verification form. The customer service department has completed their annual review of all variance accounts, and no accounts were removed from the list this year. So the staff is recommending that the board approve the annual 1-year variance for these accounts as shown in the attached resolution. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Director Russ, why don't we start off with you on this one?
I appreciate that, Sherry. I really did not understand what the multi-user accounts entailed. So you're saying that these are existing units, and it looked like, I don't have the table in front of me, but maybe 15 or 20 total. And these are folks that are that one of the units is not occupied for at least for no more than what, 40 days a year, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And how is that verified exactly?
Some verification is done if the property is listed on Airbnb, for example. We can look that up, but other than that, there's no verification process.
Okay. So if it were a Craigslist or something like that, we wouldn't really know.
Yeah, we could definitely, look the property up online, but there's nothing invasive that we do to verify.
Okay. Okay, I guess that would be my big concern, is that I think the total cost was about 7,000 a year. Um, you know, it's just a question, I guess, of equity. If some folks are gaming us and not really paying their full share. So that's it for my questions. Thank you.
Okay. Director Fultz?
Yeah, I mean, it's possible you could look at usage patterns as well, but outside of that, and maybe with, the increased electronic meters, that might be easier to do. But this has been historically a pretty pro forma thing. The number of accounts has never really exceeded the number we're looking at here. This will be my 8th one, I think, or 7th one, something like that. And it really hasn't varied at all in that period of time, more than a 1 or 2 or 3. So, yeah, I'm ready to go.
Okay. Director Largy?
My only question is, I don't understand why this is a board action. Why isn't this just a staff implemented program?
It's an annual resolution, so all resolutions have to be passed by the board.
Is there a reason why the board hasn't just adopted a policy to do this and delegate to staff? Well, maybe my proposal would be next year at this time, maybe we have an accompanying policy and just delegate this to staff. That's all I got. Thanks.
Okay. Director Lang?
Yeah, I like your suggestion, Director Largay, on that. That makes a lot of sense. And my only other comment was also looking at usage and maybe year-to-year comparisons, just as another way of double checking, just to echo Director Fultz's. That's the only thing I had down there. But yeah, it seems pretty straightforward.
Okay. So why do we grant these variances? Is it because we're a good neighbor?
Well, it's in the ordinances, 43 and 47, they both kind of detail everything.
Right.
As far as, we
Yes.
adopted that back in the 90s, I believe
Yes.
it was.
So because we're a
Neighborhood
A
community
community
friendly, we're
organization.
not the county that comes in and
right,
says,
okay,
I mean,
Okay.
look, if you're only using it 40 days
Yeah.
a year, the idea was, you're being kind of heavy-handed if you charge them the bigger amount.
Right, okay.
I believe that the wording in the 47 is that it would be equivalent to some, having house guests.
Right.
The amount of
The
water.
amount of
increase, yeah.
usage would be like having house guests. And if you are using Airbnb or similar,
You don't qualify,
kind of like house guests,
That was the rationale.
kind of like.
as long as you're
Yeah.
modest in your use.
Exactly,
This was
Yeah.
written way before Airbnb.
exactly. But, okay. So, and do the regs require the higher fees for multiple users at an address? So, okay, so
Multiple dwellings.
multiple dwellings at an address. Okay. All right. Well, then I agree with Director Largate's suggestion of, okay, if we're going to do the same thing and the board's going to vote the same thing and we're not going to change anything.
Can I make one small
Sure.
suggestion though? Because this is a variant. At the very least, I think it needs to come back as an informational item every year.
So put it on the consent agenda.
Yeah, or something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
But I, because it doesn't change much, and I can attest to that, it looks like the same thing
Yes.
every time.
Okay.
We can certainly make it simpler, but I don't want it to lose board visibility, because if this were to double or triple,
Right.
then I would say as a board member, wait a minute, there's something going on.
Okay. All right. Does anybody from the public want to comment on this? Seeing none. I want to make the motion that the board adopts a resolution approving a 1-year variance from multiple user status for the listed accounts, and that staff develop a draft policy to address this in future years.
Second.
Okay, thank you.
President Smalley,
Yes.
Vice President Lane,
Yes.
Director Foltz,
Yes.
Director Largay,
Yes.
and Director Russ.
Yes.
Motion's passed, resolution will be.
Okay, all right. Next, we have the Habitat Conservation Plan update.
Excuse me, I'll be handling that one. Yeah, so the board received a presentation from Dr. Jody McGraw in July, and that provided an update on the Habitat Conservation Plan. We have since held monthly check-ins with Dr. McGraw and made significant progress on the document itself. Some of the highlights of the progress that we made included finalizing operational plans. So essentially, this is a 25-year permit. And so we essentially need to state the kind of projects that we may carry out within those 25 years so that we can then cover them. Some of these are simpler, just like rehabbing our wells or doing vegetation maintenance around, our pump houses or whatever. Some of them are little more in depth, like, are we going to drill a new well somewhere in the Sandhills, or are we going to build a new pump station, a new tank, whatever. That takes more kind of in-depth planning process. And it also takes, kind of a long-term view from leadership. That's something that we had kind of been lacking previously, and I think really hindered the development of this plan. But now that we have that leadership in place, we've been able to kind of define what those next 25 years are going to look like. So that is a big hurdle that's out of the way. And we're then able to define what our projects are going to look like. Basically, in environmental review, you need to understand what the project is to understand the impacts. So that define what the project is. And based on that, we're then able to go and understand the impacts. So other things that were updated, we updated our GIS mapping. Some of our mapping that Jody was working off of was outdated as we, build new pipelines or replace tanks or anything like that. So we updated all of our mapping to make sure that that was correct. We actually had a few site visits to old sites to make sure that we were recording everything properly. And then also determining the impact radius. So at certain sites, we might need to do, as I mentioned, like well rehab, looking at what the actual radius that we would need in terms of impact to do something like that, or to drill a new well, or to just maintain vegetation, whatever the radius is around the actual site. So that's something that's also taken into account and put in GIS. And then the last thing is the Robeson Homes HCP was submitted, and our conservation strategy coordinates and links up with that conservation strategy. So that's another piece of the puzzle that is kind of knocked out of the way and is no longer a barrier, so that we can move forward. The district will receive an in-progress draft by the end of 2025. And I have a chart in there showing the status of individual chapters. We are expecting a final draft brought to the board of directors for review in March 2026. With that, I will take any questions.
Okay. Director Lang, why don't we start with you?
I really appreciate that you brought us back an update on everything that that Dr. McGraw has been working on, and it seems to be moving along on where we're on timeline for everything. Yeah, looks like it. Okay, awesome. Yeah, I don't really have any specific questions. I am happy to see that we have the Robeson Homes HCP submitted. That seems like that's a big load off of everything. So yeah, thank you for the work in this and bringing it back for an update for us.
Okay. Director Foltz?
Well, I'm not nearly as sanguine about the progress that's been made. There's a number of things that I'm concerned about. When I go back and look at the original status report, the environmental setting information was completed and now it's in progress. So I'm not sure if we were too optimistic in July and this reflects reality or vice versa. I'm also concerned that we continue to see more slips, and we're now introducing the notion that previous management, Rick Rogers and James Furtado, were somehow derelict in their duty on operational plans. Is that what I'm hearing? If that's the case, and we're going to make that claim prior to doing that, I would think that there would be a lot more evidence that that was in fact the case. Because, in my experience, it's very easy to blame past administrations when they're no longer around to defend themselves. I'm very uncomfortable with that kind of language. I'm also uncomfortable with our current status in the Valley Gardens project. If you go back and review the contract, we basically had 18 months from effective date of 12/19/2024 to get all of this done. That would put us out to 6/19/2026. That's not happening. They have a discretion to extend it by 8 months, and pay us $25,000, but that $25,000 payment is made only if the delay is due to their problem, not our problem. So right now we've lost $25,000 if I'm reading the contract correctly. And so I'd really encourage us to go back to Robeson Homes and see if they're willing to renegotiate that. I wouldn't if I were them, but maybe they will. We are, I believe, still in competition with Zianti, unless there's some specific language in the Robeson HCP that says that we aren't, and I don't know if we've seen that HCP or not. So if we haven't, who knows what they're committed to, because the contract with us does not commit them to anything. They can withdraw for convenience at any time. And so if they get a better deal somewhere else, they can tell us we're done and no more payment required. When I joined the board in 2018, I was told this would be done in 2019. We seem to be for lowest priority for getting things done. I guess I'm glad that she was able to get the Robson HCP done, but if that happened at the expense of us getting our stuff done, I'm not really happy about that. So, okay, here we are. Maybe it'll get done by March, or maybe it won't. I don't have a lot of faith at this point in time that any date will actually be met. Because I actually asked her specifically in July whether she was going to meet dates, and she basically did not commit to that. Okay, let's keep it rolling.
Okay. Director Largate.
I appreciate the update. I think that this will be a powerful tool to facilitate regulatory review and compliance for future projects, and will save us a lot of time, money, and uncertainty in planning work that affects the Sandhills. So it'll be fantastic to get this completed. One of the questions that I had is that we've run into a lot of delays with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service related to federal government chaos. And I wonder how dependent our schedule is on the availability of those staff, and realizing that at least some of our local staff were let go, and others were off work for a few months there. So that's my only question. And otherwise, I am really looking forward to this being in place.
Yeah, the officer, if you want to call it that, the officer at the agency who's responsible for the Sandhills, retired due to all the turmoil. And so there's a new person that's overseeing that kind of unit at U.S. Fish and Wildlife. So that is kind of a up in the air thing there, in terms of, each officer kind of brings in their own view of how things should be handled. Hopefully that continues to carry on as it did. But there is a new person in charge there. So yeah, we have yet to see how that will play out.
Thanks.
Okay. Director Russ.
Yes, thanks, Chris, for the update. It's very encouraging. If this will be completed by March of next year, that's great. And I'm very appreciative of the GIS effort, because that if that actually is an updated plan for all of our infrastructure, is that correct?
So she is mapping out all of our infrastructure in the Sandhills. That is not all of our infrastructure in
Okay.
the Sandhills, obviously, but
Yeah.
there were a significant number of updates to be made just in the Sandhills. So yeah, it's definitely good to have more up-to-date info. And even just some of the field verification was very helpful, so that we know what the real world conditions are looking like out there at some of the sites.
Okay. That sounds great. Appreciate the effort. Thank you.
I appreciate the update that you brought to us, Chris. I do want to follow up on Director Foltz's comment about Robinson Homes and meeting the what we had contractual timelines in that. And without reviewing it, I'm taking what Director Foltz said with June 26 is what I'm hearing is
18 months.
Right, as part of the 18 months. How to get this wrapped up. And I would also encourage staff to reach out to Robson Homes and just have the discussion with them, so that they're aware of where we are in this process, and get a feel from them on their perspective.
Just to be clear, Mark, that 18 months was approval.
Is what?
Getting approval.
Right.
From the government.
I understand that. Right. But again, reach out to them to just give them an update on where we are and see what they have to say.
And we met with them last month.
Okay.
Or a little over a month ago. So we are in contact with them. And yeah, we are continuing to talk and stay in touch.
Okay. Any thing that changes our plan or path forward at this point? From what they're, okay,
No, they were satisfied with the work that Jody had done on their HCP.
okay. Okay, well then, from any members of the public, want to comment on this item? We don't have a motion that we're making on this. So, thank you for the update, Chris. So, we will move on then to, the cross connection control program. Jesse,
Yep, thank you.
presenting this one.
Get started. All right. The purpose of this agenda item is to review and discuss the district's proposed cross-connection control policy. In October of this year, the district retained Knutson Cross Connection and Backflow Services to assist staff in developing the district's cross-connection control policy and to serve as the district's cross-connection control specialist of record. Currently, the district is prepared to submit the policy to the State Water Resources Control Board. Once the policy has been approved by the state, staff will bring it to the board and recommend the district replaces its current cross-connection control policy and regulation. Policy 6.7 in the district's policies and procedures and regulation 15 in the district's rules and regulations, neither which meet the new state requirements. Upon replacement of policy 15 and regulation 6.7, staff will begin implementation of the new policy. This includes initiating a system-wide hazard assessment for which staff will have a 5-year window to complete. As the hazard assessment is conducted, service connections identified as potential hazards will be documented, and the district will begin the process of notifying customers and ensuring the appropriate backflow prevention devices are installed. This policy is designed to protect public health by ensuring the district prevents contamination of its water system resulting from a backflow incident occurring outside the district's sanitary control. Contamination from a backflow incident can occur when there is either a sudden loss of pressure on the district side or an increase in pressure on the customer side of the water system. These conditions could cause contaminated water to be drawn or forced into the district's distribution system. In addition, adoption of a cross-connection control policy that meets state standards is required by the State Water Resources Control Board with a submittal deadline of January 1st, 2026. With that, take any questions.
Okay. One clarification to the memo. The engineering committee reviewed and discussed this cross-connection control policy yesterday. And we had a robust discussion of it with members of the public on the committee, offering comments and questions about it. So I appreciated that. So with that, I want to know what questions, comments the board members have on this. Director Foltz?
Yeah, I have a lot. How many incidents have we had in the last few years where we've had a backflow issue that's contaminated the water?
My understanding, none.
Excellent. Is it the case in most residential, since we're mostly a residential agency or serve mostly residential customers, is it the case that most residential customers would not have a backflow issue as long as they're not somehow interconnected to some other system or their supply line isn't connected to their wastewater line somehow?
Yeah, no, that's correct. Majority of customers won't be affected.
Yeah.
I'll stop there. It's not completely what I heard yesterday. With residential that have sprinklers.
Yeah, fire services. I would say the majority of the
Oh,
homes.
yeah, because that's a separate connection, right? But the majority of the homes here in the valley still don't have fire connection.
Majority don't.
I mean, the vast majority of them.
Right.
Simply because the county's made it virtually impossible to renovate your house. Okay, so the priority then won't be going after necessarily most of our residential customers. It'll be more a select group to start, and then you'll move through that. Is that what I'm understanding?
I wouldn't say based on residential or commercial. It's just really based on the level of hazard each connection has. So, the policy list of several hazards that.
But I mean, most residential customers won't fall into any of those hazard categories.
I would agree with that statement. Majority would not. Yeah.
Yeah, and so would they be then toward the tail end of the 5-year process? I'm assuming we're going to cover all 8,000 customers at some point.
Mhm.
We would prioritize those later in the process.
That hasn't been decided, I would say. It's more right now. It hasn't been decided who would be priority.
Would we do that?
Yeah.
Okay. I would strongly urge that, as a personal opinion, that we do that. Is the 30 days for remediation a state requirement?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
So this state lays out the guidelines for this policy. So
they think that people can actually hire a contractor in 30 days to get this done in California? That's astounding. They obviously had never actually tried to hire somebody. Okay. So what happens if at the end of 30 days, let's say we've got a customer that falls into one of the hazard categories, and they really try to get a contractor in 30 days and it's just not happening. What do? We cut them off? Are we required by state law to cut them off?
There's a notification process. So there's the first 30-day notice, and there would be a 15-day notice.
I get that. We've gone through all of that. They've gone through 30 days. They haven't been able to find a contractor to do this. Are we legally required by state law to cut them off?
I wouldn't say legally. I think we do. The district does have the discretion.
No, I'm not talking discretion. I'm talking, are we legally required?
No, we're not legally required.
Okay, good. So,
Yeah.
Boy, I mean, I got to tell you, finding a contractor to do something like this in 30 days is not going to be easy, particularly if there's a flood of requests that come in. Our contractor base is set up for a particular velocity of customer requests. This may affect that substantially in an area like this particular, where we don't have a lot of tradespeople. And the tradesperson that I use just retired. So now I got to find a new one. I am astonished that we've been able to survive so long without this regulation, though. I'm reading here that there's no self-installation possible. Is that correct? That is, let's say I have a regular residential house. At least when I was doing water connections a long time ago, the check valve was usually next to the house, and there was only one. I'm assuming that's no longer, doesn't meet requirements.
Correct.
Can I myself, because I've gone and done water stuff on my side of the meter, can I go and install 2 check valves up at the meter?
Based on this policy, no.
Okay, so not only that, we also have to get a contractor, but a contractor that's certified to be able to do this in 30 days. Jeez. I mean, does anybody else strike this as insanity?
Bob, you questioned earlier when I was trying to go through logic of.
Yeah, there is no logic here.
So I'm going to tell you the same thing right now. Forget about trying to figure out the logic of the state's requirement on this.
Okay, let me keep going. In 1.2 authority, it says here the San Lorenzo Valley water is highlighted in yellow, except where our rules conflict with the CCCPH. Are there any that conflict?
Yeah, say that again, please.
Yeah, section 1.2 authority, the highlighted in yellow. It says here our rules and regulations provide the local regulatory framework for implementation, except where those rules conflict with the CCCPH, in which case the CCPH shall control. For make things easy for people, if there's a conflict, can we just state what the conflict is or resolve the conflict so there are no conflicts?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So can we update this to make it easier for people to figure out if there's a conflict or not?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. I see this is all done at the customer's expense. That's special. Am I reading this right? That every year there has to be a site inspection of this installation for all 8,000 customers once we've gone through the whole 5-year period of remediation.
Yeah,
Is
so
that correct?
any customer that has a backflow device needs to have it inspected just a year.
Well, wait a sec, but at the end of the 5-year period, all 8,000 customers have to have installed something. Is that correct?
All
or no?
8,000, just ones that meet
Just the hazard.
that's the hazard, correct?
Okay, so if I've got a normal residential, I won't have to do anything.
Correct.
Okay, but for everybody else, they have to pay for an annual inspection and organize
And
that.
that's already in our policy. That's our state requirement.
Okay, wow. Any kind of references to off document links, please put the link in. Just to make, again, trying to make it easier for people, because this is gonna cause a lot of angst. So we want to try to make it as easy as possible for people. In terms of where these need to be installed, is the requirement that they're installed just on the other side of the meter?
Yes, that is our standard detail, and it need to be
State law states that it has to be as close to the meter as physically possible.
and testable as well.
Okay, so I don't know, maybe if that was emphasized enough. I mean, I kind of inferred that, but I wasn't sure that was actually the case. I see it says as close to practical to the service connection. Most people would, meter might be better, right? Because service connection, someone may think down by their house.
Okay.
You know, but again, if you're dealing with people that aren't in the profession, they may make different interpretations. Okay, well, I think this is incredibly punitive. I think this is regulation that's gone way over the top, particularly given the fact that we haven't had any issues. I think we're just making it even more difficult and expensive for people to own real estate or rent in California, but here it is. We've got the legislature that says do it, and as you say, there is no logic. Excellent. Appreciate you putting it all together. I know we got to do it. Keep doing it, but when you're going through it, just keep in mind that this is going to be a real issue for people, particularly that 30-day thing.
Yeah, I think working with the community is going to be a work in progress, and I mean the district plans on working with the community as best as they can to still follow all state requirements.
Okay, thanks. Director Largay?
Sure, thanks very much. So I am curious about the list of high hazard cross connection control premises, and where the list of entities came from. It seems very specific in some ways, and yet potentially not comprehensive in other ways.
Yeah, that's a good question. I would have to refer to Knudsen Services. Though he did develop the policy, I can't answer that right now.
I see.
I don't.
I guess I would feel most comfortable with a policy that had that list referenced in to the state code or whoever came up with it, because
Yes.
everything else is tightly referenced to code.
Mhm.
And backflow prevention is a meaningful step to take to prevent cross-contamination of water supplies from low likelihood issues like a loss of pressure.
Yeah.
And it's odd that, for example, pet groomers would be on this, but a kennel facility is not.
Good point. Oh,
just as a random example, and
Director Largan, this list comes directly out of the policy handbook
from the state.
from the state.
Okay, terrific. As long as we're following their inconsistency, I'm good. Okay, great. That was my main issue. Just wanting to make sure that we're adhering fully to the code. And as I mentioned, preventing black backflow is important. If anyone out there is listening to this recording, I have a friend up in Truckee where they adopted this policy about 5 years ago, who started a backflow prevention business, and he's doing great. So hopefully some local contractors can spin things up and meet the need.
I think, referencing the handbook and state code on the policies, definitely a good idea.
Okay, yeah.
Great, that's all I got. Thank you.
Okay. Director Ross?
Thank you. Yeah. Wow. Just for reference, what would a typical backflow device cost? Do you know, Jesse?
Off the top of my head, I'm guessing they're somewhere between probably $500 to $1,500.
Yeah.
It depends on the size, right? I
Yeah.
mean, this 200 to 300 for a small, maybe 3/4 inch one, and then all the way up to $1,500.
And I think at 200 to 300, you're talking just for the device itself. That's not for the
Installation? No.
certified contractor to install.
No.
Yeah.
And
That's another 4
Yeah,
hours
I-
minimum of work.
yeah, yeah, this is going to be a sticker shock, obviously, for especially a residential customer that gets hit with this. So if it's 500 to 1,500 for the device, and then several hours of work, could be
Yes.
obviously a few $1,000, right?
Yes.
I mean, maybe something for us to consider is some kind of an installment payment plan for those that need some help. And is this something that the district itself would consider, I guess, doing the work, especially given the 30 and 15-day timeframes, and then bill the customer if they would like us to do that? Is that even possible? I don't know what our abilities are in that regard.
I think installment payments I think is a good idea. As far as installing it for the customer, just industry standard, our policy is we don't do work past the meter. It's the customer's responsibility. So if we install it now, if something happens down the road, we're now responsible for it. So
Normally, typically when a district installs something for the customer, they warranty it for the year. And so, I mean, it just opens up a little bit of a liability, but it's up to the board.
Okay, so that's a possibility, is what you're saying. But I understand it's maybe some liability there too. And I guess so the way this is going to work is over 5 years, all 8,000 customers are going to be physically surveyed, which works out to what, about 8 customers a day, every single day, working day for the 5 years. Does that sound about right?
yeah, your math sounds good.
Okay.
Yes.
And so
Could I ask a clarification on that, Bob?
please, yeah.
So I'm a little confused. I thought that the properties responsible for this are the high hazard properties.
No.
So all connections need
All the
to be
survey.
surveyed, and only ones that have a hazard would need a device.
Surveyed, is that like a questionnaire or is that a site inspection?
It's a site inspection. We can have a survey go out to customers, and they can self-proclaim that they have a hazard on their property. But that would save us some time. But it would be site inspection, physical site inspection.
Can a survey, can they claim that they do not have a hazard?
No.
Okay, thanks. Sorry, Bob. Sorry for interrupting there. I was just really surprised by that.
I know. No worries. Yeah, because I'm just trying to get my handle on this. So if that works out to basically 8 surveys per day for 5 years, that's probably more than a full-time employee. I mean, it's basically once every hour. I mean, maybe that's doable. And I'm assuming that means that one of staff has to go out to each property, find the meter, and then survey from the meter to the house and try to determine if there's a cross-contamination possibility. I mean, how would that be done?
Yeah, it's inspecting the premises and checking for any type of hazard. Or just anywhere on the premise.
Okay, and what would examples of kind of obvious hazards be?
Swimming pool, right, rain catchment, fire system, fire sprinklers. For residential, commercial kind of would be more obvious, I think.
Okay. And did I hear it clearly that an owner is not allowed to do this work?
Yes.
It's a specialty full employment program.
No kidding.
Yep.
Yeah. I had put one of these devices in 10 years ago, and it was actually in Parissima Water District on the other side of the hills. And the district was quite good about it, and they came out, inspected the work, and approved it. So I guess you're saying that the state itself is saying, no, you can't do that. It can't be inspected by the district.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misheard. The district can inspect it. I thought you said install. Inspection with the district can by a certified backflow inspector, which we currently are working on getting on staff.
Okay. Maybe just to clarify then, can an owner install it and the district inspect it, or you're saying the owner cannot install?
The owner cannot install.
Okay. Because at least a number of years ago, I was allowed to do that on my own property. But you're saying, yeah.
I believe this came into effect July 1st of this year.
Yeah.
Okay. Love it.
Yeah.
You're not qualified, Bob.
Apparently not.
No, this policy by the state was, like Jason said, was effective July 1st this year. We did not meet that deadline. We received a 6-month extension to January 1st.
Right.
Okay. All right. Is there any possibility of secession?
But there
That's
is
a joke.
there could be amendments.
Since you are going to take over the role of president starting in January, you want to secession effort, then I would. Otherwise, let's continue the discussion on the
Session is not on the agenda.
on this
It's
cross.
not on the agenda, right?
Right. That's
Okay.
your call for in the future.
Great. All right. Well, thanks for the update, Jesse. I'm actually very sorry to hear this. This is going to be it sounds like it's actually going to be a budgetary hit for us as a district for the next 5 years, just supporting this survey effort. And it's going to hit a lot of people very hard, because a lot of these systems that you just outlined are I'm sure there.
Mhm.
Yeah. But thank you. Okay.
Okay. So
Right.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I can go after you.
No, go ahead. I thought I started with you, but
No,
okay.
no, you didn't. No, you jumped out there.
Okay, Director Lang.
Yeah. I was just curious as that list of those high hazard cross connection list.
Mhm.
Do they already have backflow? Were they already required previously to this?
Based on policy, yes.
So they should, like our vet in town, our dentist and all that, they should already have backflow. It's just not going to be like a huge surprise to them.
Some of them may not have it as of now, but most of the larger, like Safeway and all those, they already have them. Yes.
Okay. I'm just like wondering if there's a way to kind of get ahead of this 30 days, at least, like notifying people so they can, start getting those contractors in place if they know they don't have a backflow prevention, and just give them a little bit more lead time to
Have outreach.
Yeah, I think they would probably appreciate that. They're not also maybe financially that they can kind of accommodate for that. And I'm just also kind of like, maybe this is something that can be done in conjunction with the meter reading people that are going around, so it's not, taking so much time. Maybe like a neighborhood is a lot easier to kind of go through as you're reading meters, maybe just as a suggestion.
Yeah, we've actually, we've discussed that and we've made changes to where the, customer service representative too are now required to receive their backflow testing certificate. So they will be the ones as they're, doing this hazard assessment. And I believe it's actually spelled out in the policy somewhere.
it is?
that It
Oh,
will
sorry.
be based on a meter reading route.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. That sounds great. The state didn't offer any type of maybe grants programs or anything.
We're always looking for grants.
Okay, to like help. I just feel bad for some of these people that are going to be shocked with that. And actually, you said we've never had a backflow issue ever, but or that you know of.
Not my knowledge or my work.
Let's
I-
clarify that by saying we haven't had a backflow issue that's resulted in a contamination.
That's what I asked, was the
Yes.
contamination.
Well, I know this really isn't engulfed in that, but I think about these new, Brackenbury and Forest Springs and how we bring these systems on. And if we're connecting to their system not being fully set up yet, I know that this doesn't really capture it, but that's where I could really see in my mind where our water system
Yeah.
is being effective.
We've had discussions with staff about, these one-way interties having our own backflow device on these one-way interties.
Of course, yeah.
Big basin intertie, for example.
Okay, perfect.
The bi-directional intertie is a little bit harder to do, but
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I think that's all that I really had with that. And, thank you for this work on all of this, and should be fun to implement.
So a couple of questions, some from the committee meeting that came out. We discussed the requirement then for annual certification of these devices. So in addition to customer having to install it, has to be certified every year. And my suggestion, would the district consider not the installations, because I understand the more significant liability of that, but district consider doing the inspections. If we have the eventually having the certified specialist to be able to do backflow.
yeah, it's, again, that was discussed as well in staff.
Okay.
I would say, it's not necessarily industry standard, but it is a possibility.
Well, similar to the variances that we grant for the multiple buildings at a site, because we're the good neighbor provider of water in the area. If we could do that and had a couple of staff set up to be able to do those inspections and offering it to residents once, years from now, once there are enough of these out there. And we're going to charge you for that, but we're certainly going to, I would expect, charge less than the customer having to go out to a licensed specialist to have the license. If we're in the neighborhood area, could we provide that service more economically? Not for free, I'm not suggesting that, but more economically to customers. So a suggestion on that. What about landscape sprinkler systems? Are those going to be? And
Good one.
And how do you know whether I have a sprinkler system or not?
I mean, that would be part of the hazard assessment. We would, inspect your landscape, inspect your yard, see if there's a,
We're watching your usage at 2 a.m. We'll know.
I'm not seeing it on the list.
I don't see it on the list.
Yeah.
But it is something that if there's a break in that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that okay? And do you envision that the inspections require entry into the home, or is this just an around the property?
Yeah.
Okay. So that we don't have to have the resident there, but
Yeah.
simply notifying, we're gonna be in the area as of this day or
Yeah,
week.
residentially, we be the property, you know, a business
Okay.
that was more like an industrial,
Yes.
you know, that we would want to go inside and take a look, but
Yeah, but for residences, okay, so that's not. Okay,
But a couple points to follow up on though with your questions. Are we going to notify, ask permission, or leave a tag saying that we were on your property? We have some neighborhoods here where that's going to be a very sensitive situation for guys going onto the property if it's beyond the meter. Are we going to handle that in any way?
we have it.
Is everybody going to be armed?
You know, our staffers out in the field every day on these.
I understand, but they're not typically going into people's backyards
Right.
and
Right.
around the back of their house.
We're
and-
not a PG&E yet.
Well, even PG&E doesn't come on to your property that much. Only to the meter, and a lot of those are being read remotely.
Typically, when we go on someone's property, you know, after a main break, flushing their line or something, we'll knock on the door and let them know that we're here.
Okay,
If we came there, we'll leave them a tag.
okay, so we would handle that. Hey, if they aren't home, we'll leave a tag saying we were here.
Yeah.
But we will check to see if anybody's home, all that. Okay,
That's good.
perfect.
Yeah.
One of the other things that came up on one of, I think, Brian's questions. Let's say someone installed one of these backflow devices 10 years ago. Does the state mandate a particular set of devices? Because I'm worried about whether or not if they are mandating devices as well as all this other stuff, that could no longer be valid.
There is a list of approved devices. Most likely, if the customer already has a certified backflow device from 10 years ago, I imagine it most likely would still be certified now.
But not necessarily.
I
mean,
can't say 100%.
Okay, so that's something that these hazard people would need to be aware of as well. They could say, hey, we've got one, but you're still going to have to look at it.
Well, all the backflow preventers in the system are tested annually.
They are tested.
So you got
They're
10 years, it gets
supposed to be.
tested each year.
Okay,
Yeah.
well,
Supposed to be.
But they are. We track that
They
as
are.
well.
we know exactly
We
where they
track
are.
that. Yes, we track that. We report it to the state annually.
Okay,
It's
all right.
something.
And so we will know whether or not those that are in existence today meet the requirements of the list.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I think we're approaching
It's
the
got-
39th asymptote on risk here.
That's what, so we used to have a backflow person there a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we've only been lapsed in going out and looking for these people for 2 or 3 years. So it hasn't been a long time, so there shouldn't be a huge gap.
And we haven't stopped requiring the annual test, and we haven't stopped tracking the annual test of the 341 backflow devices we currently have in our system.
And those 340 are currently tested by certified guys, right? And the same certification required by this
Yes.
new law.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Um,
Jesse?
If I could just say one thing, I have confidence in staff on this. If you are relying on advice from others to interpret the code, I just want to encourage you to lean in and verify fully that survey means physical site inspection as opposed to methods like questionnaires. During this conversation, I've been on ChatGPT, acknowledged flawed, but it's the paid version at least. And it seems to think that a reasonable interpretation of the code by other water districts is that questionnaires for residential customers is a sufficient form of survey to ascertain the need for a
I
backflow
would
prevention.
hazard a guess to say that if we don't have access to the property, that a survey would suffice.
But
I mean,
A survey may
as
be
a
vastly more
second
efficient
best option.
too. I guess I just want to encourage you to, there may be interests that would love to have every water district physically inspecting every property and drumming up business for some industry here, where questionnaires may be adequate
Right.
and may be legally sufficient. But I'll defer to staff on,
Right.
of course, on implementing all that.
And to a comment made, Director Foltz, on some other item, we should do the least invasive. Is the survey the least invasive if it meets state requirements? And does the survey, if it meets the requirements, is it the least impactful to the district and to finances? Is it the most economical way to meet the requirement?
All those questions, we'll just have to make sure that,
Okay,
it meets
so
the state requirements.
yeah, so I would
Yeah.
encourage you to go check that aspect out. Yeah, and consider, we want to just do paper inspections for everybody that turns in an inspection form. Okay, we'll accept that. For those that don't, we need to do some further verifications because there's no way you're going to get anywhere close to 100%. Maybe you get 60% of these returned to you. So, Director Russ, I see you have a follow-up comment.
Yeah, I have follow-up questions, I guess, raised from just listening to all these other questions. I mean, a lot of folks have, fenced in yards. Is the assumption that you would just be able to walk into a yard?
No.
Okay. I would hope not. Yeah. I do like the idea of surveys if that legally helps
District
us.
will not be trespassing anywhere.
What's that?
We will not be trespassing anywhere. If we're going to backyard, it'll be with permission.
Okay. And then Jess, you were saying that of 340 devices, we currently do have inspections done annually. Do you know what that cost is per device?
I think it's around $100 to $150. Because
Okay.
we have a few backflow devices in our system, and we don't have a backflow certified tester on staff currently. So we actually have to hire someone to test ours annually as well. And for what I
All right.
remember, the invoice is about $100 to $150 per device.
Okay. All right. I mean, that's not outrageous, but I do like Director Smoley's idea of once we have a few certified staff, it would be great to cut that cost in half because it's an annual cost. It's one of those things that never ends and only goes up. So I think that would be really, really helpful for a lot of people because I'm gonna bet we're adding, I don't know, a couple thousand. We could easily be adding a couple thousand people. Between fire suppression and sprinkler systems. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what that ends up coming in at. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any comments on this from members of the public? Seeing none, we have no motion that we're taking on this. It's my understanding staff is submitting this this month.
Yeah.
Okay, by the end of the month to meet the extension requirement that we got from the state on this. Okay, all right, moving on then. Quarterly reports. We have quarterly reports from engineering, environmental, finance. Okay, then folks, questions on the engineering? Director Foltz.
Garrett, thanks for putting this together. Of the projects that are on this list, how large a subset or is it exact set of our board approved capital budget for 25-26?
So the 25-26 capital budget includes 25 projects. Now, some of these are for purchase of heavy duty utility trucks, purchase of a 4-wheel drive SUV.
I'm talking construction.
Oh, okay.
Right. Not all the other.
So those items are omitted from my update.
But everything else is in there.
I'm just focusing on the construction projects, and I've organized it by fiscal year. I've organized it by the projects that are currently in construction. And by in construction, I mean that we are under contract with a contractor. For instance, Highland tank is included as in construction, although there are no boots on the ground right now. We are under contract with Orcus, and there's a whole submittal process and procurement process that has to occur before we actually have laborers and operators at the site doing physical work.
I get that.
Okay.
Brackenbury Forest Springs consolidation. So I'm a little concerned about using the word consolidation any longer on any of our status reports. My understanding is we are not doing actually any consolidation of Brackenbury or Forest Springs. Does that mean that Brackenbury has lost their FEMA?
I don't know. They have gone radio silent.
Okay, so I think the assumption is there's no consolidation going and they've probably lost their money. I want to make sure that when we talk about things in public and we use the word consolidation, that we're reflecting what reality is. And the reality is there is no consolidation happening.
We are going as far as we can with the money that we.
I get that, but that is not resulting in a consolidation. Period. Everybody needs to understand that. That's off the table at this point, particularly if they've gone radio silent. Okay. Let's see here. Brookdale tank recoding and improvements. I'm hoping that I'm reading this wrong, but are you saying that that recoding is going to cost between 600 and 800,000 just for one tank?
That's the preliminary estimate that we have at this time. We've managed to isolate the tank from the system on a test run. We currently have an RFP on our website for a coding consultant expert to act as the owner's representative. Once we have a coding expert under contract, we will drain the Brookdale tank, isolate it from the system, perform an inspection of the current condition to fully assess the scope of work required for the rehabilitation. This tank was built in 1971. It has a pine tar interior coating. It's possible that with the age of the tank, there could be structural repairs required, including member replacement or welding. My understanding is there was some damage from the 1989 earthquake that some divers repaired. So while we have the tank fully drained and the coating contractor will remove the existing interior coating, that's our opportunity to do any repairs to structural members, or if there's any things that we need to fix before we recoat the interior. And hopefully the new coating will last up to 30 years.
When was this last recoated?
My understanding, this is the original coating from 1971.
Okay, so I mean, this is going to be like, so at what point do we just replace the tank? At what cost point do we replace the tank?
If the replacement costs, I would say, are 50% of what if the coating costs are 50% of the replacement costs, then I think we could consider just replacing the tank.
Okay, so I've been beating this drum since 2018 as a warning to future boards. Please do not ignore coating work going forward. We are behind the 8 ball on this on most of our steel tanks, and I'm concerned, though maybe since all the tanks are not from the 70s, maybe they won't all be in the $600,000 to $800,000 range. Or are we looking at that now for all of our tank recoatings?
It depends on the size of the tank. It depends on the amount of structural repairs you have to do. It depends on
so Blair tank, for example, do we think the Blair tank would cost as much?
I don't know at this time what that's going to cost. Okay. And initially we budgeted, I believe it was $425,000 for the Blair tank and $400,000 for the Brookdale tank. So once we have the coating expert that can help us understand the current costs of coating we can make an informed decision on the best way to move forward
Okay, that would include for the blower tank as well then.
for all our
All
tanks.
the tanks.
Yes.
Okay, so bring that back to the board as soon as possible because we need to get a better handle on what we're facing here with tank costs.
Yeah.
And whether or not we've gone to the point where we just should be replacing things.
The RFP for the coding consultant closes on January 23rd, at which point we will bring that to the board to award that contract. And once we have something in our contract, then we can proceed with the inspection, and that will really inform us of the condition.
Okay. I think I mean, there's a lot of things to cover, but we'll, I'm sure, be talking about these more in the future. On the Huckleberry Island line. So the only thing I really learned about that was there are actually 3 easements, right? 3 separate easements. There's an easement for the bridge, which involves all the owners back in there. There's an easement for the land on the other side, which I think only involves one owner group. And then there's an easement on the landward side through the person's property. So unless we have easements for all of those, we're going to need 3 separate easement documents.
Correct.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, that's what I got on the engineering.
Okay. Ryan, any
Yeah, so I guess
the engineering?
I had I appreciate the presentation. It's great to see the layout of the projects. I am curious about the timing and the role of regulatory review and permitting in the timing. I wasn't sure which of the 3 project phases, if any, included the lag associated with permits.
So I would typically expect the permits to be secured in the engineering and plan phase.
Gotcha. Is that the case? So when engineering and plan is complete, the permits are complete?
I mean, we're kind of in a unique position as being able to self-inspect our projects, where we don't always have to pull a permit, say from the building department at the county. For instance, our the Blue Ridge tank that we've just constructed north of Boulder Creek, we did not have to pull a building permit for that tank. And the only permit we have is from the State Water Board. And similarly for our pump stations and for water infrastructure, we can self-inspect without, the county's involvement. Similar to the Port District at the harbor.
I guess what the type of inspections that or a regulatory review that I'm concerned about with regard to project timing are grading permits, Cal Fish and Wildlife regulatory review, U.S. Fish and Wildlife regulatory review, those types of permit conditions for construction projects that affect those public trust resources.
Yeah, so all those permits would be typically done by the environmental department. And a lot of times we hire a consultant. I think we were under.
I guess specific to the timeline. So
yeah.
So the timelines don't indicate that process step in a way that I can understand whether permits are secured for the projects or if there is some potential for delay.
So for instance, Highland Tank, I think
I guess so just across all of the projects, there's a dozen different projects.
Yeah.
I think only one of them is listed in the environmental department summary. Peavine, I think, is the only one I remember seeing in both reports. If that's the only one that requires permits, great. But if other projects require permits, I would benefit from seeing timelines that explain when in the process they will be secured. And the reason is that if they're not secured, then the timeline may be extended by 6 months or a year fairly easily by the actions of regulatory agencies. And as we gear up to borrow money to build these things, a year of delay could matter a lot.
Yeah, so for Highland Tank, I believe we have a notice of exemption. So, that one was relatively easy. Sometimes we have to do an ISMND which is an initiative.
Initial study negative declaration, but I think basically
My-
you're
my-
asking on the bigger scale. And I think basically the answer is that once we're at 60% design, is typically when the environmental review process starts. So it gives us a little bit of time as they work from 60% to final design. But we are also planning to work on Gantt charts that incorporate both the engineering, the environmental, like basically all of the critical path of projects. So I think that will be helpful for you to understand where that critical path lays and what could get in the way.
Thank you. That would be very helpful. Just a fourth row in the existing Gantt charts for regulatory review, showing when that is planned in sequence for the various projects. That'll be particularly helpful to know when that box is checked off, permits are secured, and then we're ready for construction.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
And if I can comment on that just a little further, Brian, from my observation in being involved in the engineering aspects and construction aspects, generally the permitting starts in enough time that we have permits in place before these are going out to bid, so that we're not waiting on that. With the exception of Caltrans, that's the one that I see the most significant. We've stalled on a bridge crossing because we submitted to Caltrans 8 months ago, and they still haven't got back to us yet. So that's the one agency that I see, not necessarily Fish and Wildlife. And a lot of the projects that we have, we're able to go the more simpler route on environmental reviews, generally the negative decks on a lot of those. That allow us to fairly quickly move through the process.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thanks for
It
that.
is project specific as well, though. If we're
Yes,
working in
it
the
is.
sand hills and we don't have
It
the
is.
HCP yet, then it'll take a little more time. Or if we're working in a stream like
Yeah,
Ball
Ball
Creek,
right,
that took a lot of time. But generally, it's pretty simple pathways.
Okay, great. I guess that for whatever reason, I felt like I had more exposure to those more complicated projects and anticipated that many of these were along those lines. But I really like the idea of having the regulatory review as part of the process. And if it's very short, perfect, then no big deal. Winter construction, a lot of the projects showed winter construction. Is that feasible typically?
I think, as a district, we should be prepared to have a repeating cycle for our construction where we're doing the actual field work in the summertime in the dry period, and then awarding a contract in the winter time, and then doing the paperwork, the submittal process and the material procurement in the springtime, and giving a contractor more time to figure out how he's going to do his means and methods for the construction results in a better price for the district. So if you tell a contractor you only got 30 days to do something, you get a much larger price than if you give them 300 days to do the same task.
Right. I guess specifically some of the projects on the schedule showed the construction window being, and I can't remember specifics, but something like January through July. When I look at that, I think of actually only having 2 or 3 of those months available for construction if construction can't start until the dry season. Maybe some of these projects can be built in the rainy season, or maybe the projects only require 2 or 3 months for construction. I just wanted to encourage consideration of winter weather delays for projects where winter construction is expected.
Yeah, I would say that, the contractor will get time extensions for rain delays. And at the end of the project, if it takes a little more time to complete something, it ends up, that's just kind of the way it goes,
Yes. So again, I'm just thinking about the schedule.
Like for instance, Fall Creek, we were supposed to be out of the creek by October, I believe it was October 15th. And so what the contractor did was he did all the in-stream work he prioritized that, got everything done so he could get out of the repairing corridor, and then he did all the topside work, after October 15th.
Right. So I guess my question is, are you confident that all of the construction windows shown in your charts will accommodate weather-related delays?
So the charts are a guess. It's an estimate of what we think we can accomplish. They're constantly updated. Construction is a very dynamic process. You can have material delays. You could have maybe something happen at your site. And so you typically have a weekly meeting to go over current status of what's happening, and the engineer will be there, contractor, the owner, maybe the geotech, and we can problem solve for the contractor, because really we're all on the same team trying to build the fish ladder or trying to build a tank. And so, it's a cooperative process, I would say, and we're trying to, complete the project as quickly as possible, really.
So, of course, what I'm trying to understand is what confidence do you have in the schedules that you're sharing?
It's my intent to execute these schedules as shown.
So I guess I don't understand how. So are there buffers built into the schedule for winter weather delays and the ongoing collaborative process that's dynamic during construction? Or are you accounting for buffer time to make sure that there's ample opportunity for construction, accommodating those kinds of delays? I just don't know how to or if you had to give a percent confidence that these schedules will be met, are you 50% confident, 100% confident?
I'd say 75%.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Director Lang.
Garrett came and joined us at the admin committee, and he gave us a full presentation, and we spent the whole meeting asking him all the questions about this. And so the interest in time as we move towards 9 p.m., I will say thank you for that informative presentation on Tuesday. And I have no additional questions from that. I asked them all there. Thank you.
Okay. Director Russ.
Yes, thanks, Garrett. I was also at the admin committee meeting, and it was very helpful. I did have just a few follow-on questions. It would be very helpful, I think, to follow up on Director Largue's questions of showing, and maybe I just don't have these in front of me, but project by project, what is the critical path? And have you built in slack time for each of them? Because obviously there's always things that come up, and whether you build in a month of slack time or 6 months, I'm not sure. It probably depends on the complexity, but it would be helpful just to kind of see project by project, how much time are you allocating, I guess, for contingencies that will one way or another effectively come up, right? What do you think about that?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, typically what we do is we dictate to the contractor how much contract time they have prior to the bidding process. And then they have to give us a price accordingly. And then if they don't meet the schedule, we can enforce liquidated damages, which is a per day fee that they have to pay when they're late.
Okay, no, I understand. I guess obviously that would be a big disincentive for the contractor to try to meet their deadline. But from our perspective, it still might be useful for you to, for our internal purposes, to say, well, this might, rain delays might add 30 days total, that kind of thing. So how much might this slip that the contractor would be within rights then to also be allowed to slip, right? Just that kind of an approach. And then I wanted to ask you, following up on some of Director Foltz's questions about the coding. From a big picture point of view, would you mind just telling me how many tanks do we have in the district? How many approximately? I don't need an exact number. And I guess and how many of those are do they all need to be recoded effectively? Because I thought that the number for recoding was closer to 200,000, and yet a lot of them, it looks like they're in the 400 to 600 to 800 range, and so obviously those are really big numbers for us to deal with in the future. Can you just give me some ballpark, big picture numbers?
Sure. So there's 49 tanks in the system that holds over 9 million gallons of water. Of those tanks, we have poly tanks, we have concrete tanks, we still have some wooden tanks, and we also have steel tanks. The steel tanks are either bolted steel tanks or welded steel tanks. I gave a presentation to the engineering committee about the steel tanks and recoding. After we're done with Highland Tank, Echo Tank, and Redwood Park Tank, the remaining, we only have one more wooden tank at Valhalla, which is in your neighborhood, and a total of 30 tanks that need recoding. So they're either bolted steel or welded steel.
So Bob,
Okay.
you're looking at over $10 million of recoding minimal, in my opinion. And that is 30 years of deferred maintenance that the district hasn't done.
Yeah, and if you go to the engineering committee where I presented this, it has the date of construction of the tanks and when they've last been recoded.
Why don't you send that, Jason, that, because I did find that table summary helpful so that I could understand. Why don't you just send that to all of the board members so that they can see that? And if they have further questions about tanks, they can.
Yeah, that would be appreciated.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Yep, that's it for my questions. Thank you.
Okay. All right. I don't have any questions on this engineering report being on the committee. I've had questions about a number of these projects in the past that we have covered. But Director Lang did mention something about the time. I do want to ask Jason, of the items that are on the rest of the agenda, the quarterly reports for the other items and what's on the consent agenda, do we need to go through these this evening? Or if it's okay with the rest of the board, I want to propose that we bring these back to that first meeting in January.
I would prefer to have quarterly reports the month after the quarter end anyway. So that makes sense to me. And I will be pulling 12A and 12B. So yeah, just FYI.
Okay. So those contracts. So then those contracts, do we need to discuss and approve those this evening, Jason? Or are you okay with us discussing those?
January 15th, I guess.
On January 15th. Yes, that's 4 weeks from now.
I just have some questions about
It
it.
would be so the items are the award of the pump station fire hardening replacements project.
Right.
Is there a time crunch on the grant?
No, I think we have a lot of time, and this is one of the projects where I've given an exorbitant amount of time to the contractor so that he can do his work in the summertime and he can do his procurement and submittals and paperwork in the rainy season.
And then what about the other contract, the other two contracts?
So the other ones are
the change order for the Bracken Bray Forest Springs.
The change orders, I mean, we should deal with that. If we could tonight, that would be appreciated.
My understanding is that they need to be paid by the end of the month.
Okay. All right.
I mean, it'd just be better to get it.
Then let's talk about, if the rest of the board is okay, we'll talk about item 12A this evening. we will defer the rest of the quarterly reports that are as shown in this agenda. I'm not proposing that that you update those, but bring those same presentations back January 15th. And the other consent agenda item, the pump house hardening, bring that back January 15th. The rest of the consent agenda items that are on here. Does any of the rest of the board, other than item 12A, does any of the rest of the board want to talk about items 12C, D, or E this evening? Okay, seeing none then, let's talk about item 12A. So, Director Fultz, you said you had questions on
Yeah, I
that.
had some questions, and I hope they're very easy. There was on CCO2, sorry, I got to blow this up a little bit. I'm getting old.
Yeah, unforeseen conditions.
Unforeseen conditions, yeah. Were these unmarked water lines customer service lines?
Yes.
So are these customers that were getting billed, or are these customers that we have uncovered? Because I know in the past we have uncovered a customer or two that was getting service that we didn't know about.
No, I believe these are customers that have meters are getting served, and the issue was they had a shallow embedment. So when they went to saw cut the asphalt,
Yeah,
for the it cut the
it cut
line.
through the line.
You have a geyser coming out.
This is the service line before the meter though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that the customers weren't getting billed for the water. It's on the district side.
Oh yeah, no,
But I mean, they're
that
customers.
yeah.
He was
I was thinking that
illegal hookups.
we had a situation in the past where there was a water line that no one knew about providing service, and we found, oh, hey, a new customer. Surprise, surprise. Okay, and then on CCO6, additional water services.
Yes.
Install 5 additional. When I hear additional, I think, well, again, are these new customers or are these?
No.
Okay, so these were existing customers. We changed their connection to the system from a 3/4 or 5/8 to a 1-inch.
Well, the connection was not shown on the plans. And in order for us to abandon the old lines that are deteriorating, we have to connect all the services to the new line.
Right.
And then we can get rid of the old 2-inch that is rotting.
Got it. Okay, so we went ahead and put in 1-inch lines for those people. How come we didn't know that we were going to have to do that? So we're getting rid of the line.
It's just an error in the engineering plans that should not have happened.
Okay, but the good news is we put in 1-inch connections.
Correct.
So that's okay. Okay, I mean, again, a lot of this is what it is, but I wanted to make sure we weren't. I was curious whether we had any customers that were new, undiscovered country.
No.
All right, thank you, Jared. Appreciate it.
Okay. With that, then, I want to consider items 12A, C, D, and E as approved, and I'll make the motion that the board approve those 4 consent agenda items.
Well, the point of order though, which is I pulled from the consent agenda 12A, that needs to be handled separately per sort of rules of order. And then we can go back to the rest of the consent agenda.
Okay.
C, D, and E.
However you.
Well, I'm
okay. I'm fine.
Either we're going to follow the rules that we have or we're not.
We'll approve. I want to make the motion that we approve the change order for that, and I don't believe I have that printed. Contract change order.
I can help you with that. I move that the board directs the general manager execute contract change orders 2, 5, 6, and 7 for payment to Anderson Pacific Engineering Construction, Inc. for the district's water system consolidation project in the sum of $52,069, increasing the not to exceed contract amount from $3,474,227 to $3,526,296.
I will second that.
President Smalley,
Any
Well,
members of the public, wish to comment on this? Seeing none, I think you can take a vote.
President Smalley,
Yes.
Vice President Lane,
Yes.
Director Foltz,
Yes.
Director Largay,
Yes.
and Director Russ.
Yes.
Okay. We've already agreed that we will pull item 12B from the consent agenda and discuss that at a future board meeting. Therefore, items 12C, D, and E, with lack of objection on those, we will consider those approved. District reports. The finance status report. Can we either, does anybody want to comment on that? And if so, can we do that at a next meeting?
I do have questions at the next meeting's fine.
Okay, all right, good. Well then, given that, no written communications, no informal material, informational material. Jason, anything else? Okay, if it's not apparent, we are not going to have a board meeting on New Year's Day, January 1st.
That's too bad. I'm ready to do that.
So, okay, with that, we will adjourn. See you folks next year.
We could do it at midnight and ring in the new year.
Sounds good.
You did that for White Day.
But we're allowed to